Welcome to Ayurveda and Spirituality with your host, Alakananda Ma, a renowned Ayurvedic expert and a graduate of a top London medical school. She's the principal of Alundi Ayurveda Gurukula, a unique apprenticeship-style school in Boulder, Colorado. She is a spiritual mother, teacher, flower essence maker, and storyteller. Join us as we uncover the timeless principles of Ayurveda, discover practical tips for enhancing vitality, and explore the deeper dimensions of spirituality that intertwine with the ancient science of life.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Satsang. Satsang is a meeting of hearts, gathering of friends to inquire into the truth. Last time, we started looking at the big, rambling, and very fascinating Chandogya Upanishad. And we started thinking about Svetaketu, just graduated, comes home with a big ego, and then finds out he didn't learn the most important things in all his years at school. So now we come on to the next part of the same chapter, chapter 6, looking at the science experiments that Udalaka has Svetaketu do. Up till now, we were looking at the threefold nature of everything. So, of the curd, my dear, when churned, that which is subtle moves upwards, it becomes butter. In the same manner, my dear, of the food that is eaten, that which is subtle moves upwards, it becomes mind. Of the water, my dear, that is drunk, that which is subtle moves upwards, it becomes breath. Of the tejas, of the heat, my dear, that is eaten, that which is subtle moves upwards, it becomes speech. Thus, my dear, mind consists of food. Breath consists of water. Speech consists of heat. And we probably read that part last time. That is the wrap up on the threefold nature of everything. So, because the subtle part of food is what nourishes our mind, the subtle part of water is what nourishes our breath, and the subtle part of tejas is what nourishes our speech. So then Udalaka says to his son, and a person, honey or sweetie, or he always calls him Samya. A person, my dear, consists of 16 parts. For 15 days, don't eat any food and just drink water. Drink as much water as you want. Breath, which consists of water, will not be cut off from one who drinks water. So you won't die. You'll still be able to be alive. You'll still breathe. But see what happens if you don't eat for 15 days. This is the first science experiment that he has his young son do, is try a 15-day fast. So for 15 days, Svetaketu doesn't have any food. And then after 15 days, he comes to dad and he says, okay, so what shall I say? Oh, yes, my son. Could you recite the Rig verses, the Yaja's formulas, and the Saman chants? Remember, he's just been gone for 12 years, and this is what he's been studying for all this time, the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Sama Veda. And he's like, ah. They're not coming. I can't remember any of this stuff. That was the whole point, right? So Odalaka says, just as, sweetie pie, of a great lighted fire, a single coal of the size of a firefly might be left, which would then not even burn very much. Even so, my dear, of your 16 parts, only one part is left. So with it, you can't even remember the Vedas. Eat, then you'll understand me. So he goes off and he has his food, has some lunch, and he comes back to his father. And then his father starts quizzing him to do different verses and different formulas, and he answers it all. So then Odalaka says, just as, sweetie, of a great lighted fire, if a single coal the size of a firefly is left, and here we're going to be sudden under, if a single coal the size of a firefly is left, it is made to blaze by covering it with straw, and then the fire would thereafter burn much. We are pretty lucky here because we've actually had chances to experience our fire master doing just this. And there have been times when we would do 10 days of fire ceremonies during Navaratri, and Sadananda would retain the fire for all of the 10 days. So at night, he'd bank the fire under ash, and then we'd come the next day to do the fire, and there'd be a teeny weeny, teeny tiny spark, and he'd have his fan, his palm leaf fan, and some similar to straw, some like very dry, very light kindling, and he would start the fire. So this is just the example that's given, um, because after 15 days of fasting, there's almost no energy left. Um, so as of a great lighted fire, if a single coal the size of a firefly is left and made to blaze up by covering it with straw, then you can end up with a big blazing fire. Super amazing that can be done. So, my dear, of your 16 parts, only one part was left, and that, when covered with food, blazed up. With it, you can now remember the Vedas. For, my dear, mind consists of food, breath consists of water, and speech consists of heat. Then he understood what is said. He understood it. Iti tadhasya vijnana iti. He got it. That the mind consists of food. So back in those days, they'd never heard of glucose. They didn't actually know about the functions of the brain or about the Krebs cycle or any of these things. And yet we all know that we naturally know that the brain is the greatest consumer of calories and that we're going to get spaced out if we don't eat. Next section is section 8, concerning sleep, hunger, thirst, and dying. Then Udalaka Aruni said to his son Svetaketu, learn from me, my dear, the true nature of sleep. When a person here sleeps, as it is called, my dear, he has reached pure being. He has gone to his own, therefore they say he sleeps, for he has gone to his own. So just like a bird tied by a string, the bird can fly about in various directions without finding a resting place anywhere, and it finally settles down at the place where it's bound. So also the mind, my dear, after flying in various directions without finding a resting place elsewhere, settles down in breath. For the mind, my dear Soumya, is bound to breath, to prana. Prana bandhanan hi Soumya mana iti. The mind is tied to the breath. Learn from me, my dear, what hunger and thirst are. When a person here is hungry, as it's called, water only is leading what has been eaten by him. So as they speak of a leader of cows, a leader of horses, a leader of men, so they speak of water as the leader or the carrier of food. On this, my dear, understand, this body is an offshoot which has sprung up. It couldn't be without a root. What else could the root be than food? So, with food as an offshoot, seek for water as the root. With water as an offshoot, seek for heat as the root. With heat as an offshoot, seek for being as its root. So, what is the source of everything? That's what he's made his son experience hunger in a way he never experienced before, because he was at the Gurukulam and every day they had their lunch. They never had to go without their lunch, but he just went without food for 15 days and he learned what it was like to be hungry. So the body is an offshoot. The root of the body, of the Annamaya kosha, of the food body, is food. And food itself is an offshoot. And what is food an offshoot of? Water. No water, no food. No rain, no food. We have to go out and water the garden. We have to boil the water to cook the food. No water, no food. But the water itself has to come from somewhere. With water as an offshoot, the root now, the mulam, is tejas. That heat, that fire is the root of the water. But even that tejas has to come from somewhere. Where does it come from? Being. Being is its root. Sungena sanmulam anvicha sanmulaha samya ima sarva praja sad ayatana sad pratishtaha. Everything, all these creatures have their root in being. They have being as their abode, being as their support. So it's a hot day and you're thirsty. The reason you're thirsty is because the heat carried off what you drunk. So they speak of a leader of cows, a leader of horses, a leader of men. Heat is the leader of water. On this, my dear, understand, this body is an offshoot which has sprung up. It has to have a root. The root is water. With water as an offshoot, what lies underneath the water? The heat is the root. with heat as an offshoot. Being is the root. All these creatures have their root in being. They have being as their abode, being as their support. But the reality is, each of these three divinities, when it comes to the human being, they are threefold. So what happens when we die? We were talking about this yesterday with a patient. We spoke with a patient who had to have the sad experience of asking for mum's life support to be cut off so that mum could go on because she was at the end of her life and she was just being kept alive. And we spoke about how complicated sometimes it seems to be to know when we are alive, when we are dead, what happens when we depart from our body. This Upanishad says that then when we depart, speech merges into mind into breath into tapas into the highest divinity. So at the time of death, this whole threefold nature of the mind, the breath, the prana, and the tejas, they all leave because they remain rooted in being, which is why we don't die when we die, because we're rooted in being. Food bodies die, breath leaves bodies, and bodies die, but we don't die because we are rooted in being. That which is the root of all is the self of the whole world. Saya esonima aitad apyam idam sarvam tad satyam sa atma tat tvam asi Śvetaketu iti. This is a Mahavakya. This is an extremely important verse. We have just started thinking about how the body is threefold. And remember, for Svetaketu to receive this supreme teaching, he was put through it. The lad had to fast for 15 days until he was so weak he couldn't remember the subject he just graduated in. Then he had his food. Now he's prepared. He's thought about the fact that we have these three divinities within us, the mind, the breath, and the tejas, the light, the fire, but that they're all rooted in something else. When we die, they're going to leave. They're going to leave the body, but we're not going to be gone. Saya esunima aitadatmyam idam sarvam tat satyam sa atma tatvam asi Śvetaketu iti. This is a little more difficult to do when you're all on Zoom, but we will try to do it. So that which is the subtle essence, the root of all, this is what the world has for itself. Tat satyam, this is the true. Sa atma, this is the self. Tatvam asi Śvetaketu iti. Sadananda, thou art that. Right, that we got to try. Caitlin, tatvam asi, thou art that.
Yes.
Tatvam asi, thou art that. Kelly, tattvam asi, thou art that. And to everyone who's listening to the podcast, tat tvam asi, thou art that. Death is not possible. Bodies die. Death is not possible because being remains being. Saya esonima aitad atmiyam idam sarvam tat satyam sa atma tatvam asi Svetaketu iti. That thou art, Svetaketu, indeed. Svetaketu's like, whoa. Basically, he says, okay, tell me more. So the moment when you do hear, you, especially when we can call your name, or you, when you listen, call your own name, and you hear these words, this Mahavakya, Tattvam Asi Iti, indeed, thou art that. This is the only proximate means of moksha, of liberation, of God realization. You can do whatever you do. Svetaketu just fasted for 15 days, but that didn't make him get it. What made him get it was to hear from the fully realized being, his dad, Tattvam Asi. These words have been passed down to us through the unbroken lineage of the fully realized beings, the ones who, when they speak that, they know that, and they have taught us that we awaken in hearing the Mahavakya, that this great word, this Mahavakya, awakens us. It's the instant enlightenment. It may take you decades, it may take you lifetimes for that seed sown in this moment to sprout, to grow, and to flower. But in the moment that we receive from the enlightened masters who have taught it to us, this Mahavakyam, Tattvam Asi, thou art that. That seed is sown and we must awaken. And Swami Paramananda very eloquently explained to us, no, it is not a finger pointing to the moon. He said, that's pretty vague. The moon is pretty big in the sky. You really don't need anyone to point to it. He said, it's when your teacher stands right behind you, hands on your shoulders, so you're in parallax, so your eyes see exactly the same thing, and points and says, see that star, that one specific star. You are that. It is a very precise and very specific teaching, pointing out to us our true nature. So this is what the Upanishads bring to us. Sa ya esonima aitad apmyam idam sarvam. This is what the whole world has for itself. Tat satyam sa atma. This is the true, this is the self. Tat tvam asi Śvetaketu iti. And Svetaketu goes, wow. Sarah wasn't there when we did that. So let's try. So we're just revealing the Mahavakya, Sarah, similar to Eya Asher Eya. It is Tat Tvam Asi. Thou art that, Sarah, indeed. And just through hearing this, the seed of awakening is sown because you hear it from one who has heard it from those who have heard it from the source. It's not about the person that says the words to you, but it is inherent in this teaching, in these words. So tell me more, says Svetaketu. Just as, my dear, the bees prepare honey by collecting the nectar from different trees and reducing them to one essence, and as all these different nectars possess no discrimination, even so all these creatures, though they reach being, they don't know that they have reached being. So the nectar from the clover and from the sweet pea and from all the different flowers, they think, oh, I'm clover nectar, I'm alfalfa nectar, and they don't know that they have reached being. Whatever they are in this world, tiger or lion or wolf, boar, worm or fly, gnat or mosquito, that they become. So they reach pure being, but not consciously. So they will come back to their specific forms. They didn't become conscious. They weren't able to receive this Mahavakya, that which is the subtle essence this whole world has for itself. Tat Satyam Sa Atma Tattvam Asi Śvetaketu Iti. That which is the subtle essence this whole world has for itself. This is the true. This is the self. Śvetaketu, thou art that. So we started off by saying that which is the root of all the whole world has for itself. Saya esonima aidatyamam idam sarvam. Tat satyam sa atma. Tattvam asi Śvetaketu iti. He says, more. Want to hear it again? All right. The next is the one that Raghudas taught to me. These rivers, my dear, flow from the east to the east, the west to the west. They just go from sea to sea. They become the sea itself. And while there, the rivers do not know, I am this one. I am that one. So all the rivers is something Raghudas very specifically said to me. There are many rivers. The Ganges, the Yamuna, the Godavari, the Bhima, the Indrayani, but they will all flow into the same ocean. But the rivers, when they get there, they don't know I am this one or I am that one. And it's actually really amazing when you're at Sangam, when you're at Prayag in North India, where all the hundreds of millions of people are right now. When the Ganges and the Yamuna come together You can see. You can see the silt of the Yamuna. You can see the two different you can recognize the two different waters. You can see them flowing side by side. They haven't completely merged in the same manner. All these creatures, even though they have come forth from being, they don't know they have come forth from being. Whatever they are in this world, tiger or lion, wolf or boar, worm or fly or gnat or mosquito, that they become. That which is the subtle essence this whole world has for itself. This is the true. This is the self. Tat tvam asi Svetaketu. O Svetaketu, thou art that. Tell me more. Svetaketu is burning with thirst now. Of this mighty tree, my dear. If someone should strike the root, it would bleed but live. If someone should strike it in the middle, it would bleed but live. If someone should strike at the top, it would bleed but live. Being pervaded by its living self, it stands firm, drinking its moisture and rejoicing. If life leaves one branch of it, it dries up. If life leaves a second, it dries up. If life leaves a third, it dries up. This has been happening to our rosemary. It's very, very sad. At this point, life has left about 2/3 of the rosemary plant, at least half. But there's some that's still alive. If it leaves the whole dries up. So understand. This is like so important. When this body dies, the living self leaves behind the body, but the living self does not die. That which is the subtle essence is the self of the whole world. Tat satyam sa atma tattvam asi Śvetaketu iti. This is what does not die when the body dies. This is what does not die. Let's have another go, says Svetaketu. Tell me more. Okay, so bring me a nyagroda fruit. Bring me a wild fig. Here it is. Here, Dad. I brought you one. Break it. It is broken, venerable sir. What do you see there? He's broken open the wild fig. What does he see? Teeny weeny tiny seeds, Dad. Okay, can you break a teeny tiny seed? Yes, I've broken it, Dad. What do you see there? Nothing. I see nothing. And he says, that nothing that you can't see, that subtle essence, it's from that nothing. When he broke open the seed of the Nyagroda tree, this mighty tree, he saw nothing. And yet it's in that seed, it's from that seed that the mighty tree will come. My dear, that subtle essence which you do not perceive, from that very essence, this great Nyagroda tree exists. Believe me, my dear. Saya sonima itadatmyam idam sarvam tat satyam sa atma. This is true. This is the self. Tattvam asi Śvetaketu iti. Śvetaketu Thou art that. Next science experiment. I love this one. This is like middle school science. Tell me more, Dad. Okay. Get some salt. Bring some salt and a glass of water. Put the salt into the water and come to me in the morning. So he did. He puts the salt in the water and he stirs it up and he leaves it overnight. And in the morning, Udalaka says to his son, can you bring me the salt that you put in the water? Whoa! He looks for the salt everywhere in the water and he can't find it. What happened to the salt? He put it in the water. There's no salt in the water. It's all dissolved. Take a sip from the top of your glass. How is it? It's salty. Now have a sip from the middle of your glass. What does it taste like? Salty. Now have a sip from the bottom of the glass. What does that taste like? It's salty. Okay, chuck away the water. Come, son, come. He did so. It is always the same. And then he says, see, son, you didn't see pure being here, but it is here. As the salt permeates through the entire glass of water, so being permeates everything. That which is the subtle essence this whole world has for itself. That is the true. That is the self. Tat tvam asi Śvetaketu iti. One more example. Okay, honey. Just as one might lead a person away from the Gandhiras with his eyes bandaged and abandon him in a place where there's no one around. And the person would shout towards the east or the north or the south or the west. I've been led here with my eyes bandaged. I've been left here with my eyes bandaged. And someone comes along and takes the blindfold off and says, in that direction are the Gandharas. Go in that direction. And then, asking his way from village to village, he'd get there. In the same way, does one who has a teacher know? So the importance of having the teacher. And for us at this moment of time, this is the teacher. The teacher is the powerful lineage of self-realization, of liberation, passed down to us in the Upanishads, that brings us, these Upanishads bring us into direct communication with Udalaka and the ancient sages of centuries ago. And it becomes a living and authentic thing for us as we read this together. And why do we need the teacher? Because we're the person that is blindfolded in the middle of nowhere and we don't know our way home. And we yell and yell, what am I going to do? And the teacher comes along and unties the blindfold and says, start going that way. And the teacher doesn't have to walk the whole way with us. Because once we know the way to go, we're going to make it home. Saya esoni maitadapmyamidam sarvam tad satyam sa atma tattvam asi Śvetaketu iti. That which is the subtle essence this whole world has for itself. That is the true, that is the self. Thou art that, Śvetaketu. One more. Okay. Around a sick or dying person, the relatives gather and say, "Do you know me? Do you know me?" So long as the voice is not merged in mind, and mind is not merged in breath, breath is not merged in heat, heat is not merged in the highest deity, he still knows them. He's still distinguishing the relative world. But when voice is merged in mind, mind in tapas or in tejas, tejas in parasham devatyam, in the highest deity, then he doesn't know them. That which is this subtle essence the whole world has for itself. This is the true. This is the self. Thou art that, Svetaketu. One more, says Svetaketu, really trying to get it. Okay. So they're bringing up a man. They've grabbed him by the hand. They've handcuffed him. They say he's stolen. He's committed a theft. The axe for him. If he has committed the theft, then he's going to lie. Being given to untruth, covering himself with untruth, he's going to hold the heated axe and it'll burn him. This is kind of a trial by fire thing. If you did commit the theft, the heated axe will burn you. But if you didn't commit the theft, you won't get burned by the heated axe. And then you are set free. So once we reach the point where we are no longer the thieves, we are the thieves as long as we believe that all the things of the relative world are true in and of themselves. We are the thieves who have stolen the real and made it into the unreal. But if once we awaken, we are no longer thieves, we can place our hand on that heated axe of the world and it won't burn us because we are free. And remember the quote from Nyaneshwari, who can catch that thief who has stolen the universe and left only himself? Possibly the very best line of the entire amazing Nyaneshwari, who can catch that thief who has stolen the universe and left only himself. This is the true, this is the self. Tattvam asi Śvetaketu iti. O Śvetaketu, thou art that. Tad hasya vijnanav iti, vijnanav iti. And he understood it from him. Indeed, he understood. So this is the wonderful, the Mahavakya passed on to us to this day from the great sages of old, that they themselves stand before us in the form of a book that we can read and share together, in the form of a voice that can read from the book, in the form of the words. The great sages come to awaken us and keep on and on trying, as Udalaka kept on and on trying with Svetaketu until finally he gets it. There has never been a time when these great teachings have not been known, have not been understood. Sadananda and I saw J. Krishnamurti covering his eyes and sobbing about the Upanishads, basically saying, if you don't read this, if you don't know this, you've lost the greatest treasure you ever had. This is the great treasure that has come to us from Brahma Bhumi, from the land of India, and is alive to this day to awaken us.
Thank you for tuning in to Ayurveda and Spirituality with Alakananda Ma. We hope today's exploration has ignited a spark of curiosity and insight within you. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a 5-star review and share it with a friend. For more enlightening discussions and practical wisdom on Ayurveda and spirituality, subscribe and join our Facebook group, Alundi Ayurveda. To allow us to continue sharing valuable content, consider donating to Alundi Ashram. The links will be in the show notes. Until next time, may you walk the path of Ayurveda with grace and embrace the light of spiritual wisdom in your journey.
Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivadano